Hi everyone, Joshua and Chris here from Ibrox after Rangers 2, St Mirren 0 for your post-match debrief. We've just been hearing from Philippe Clement as well, which you can watch on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to read the full transcript soon as well. But we're going to break down the game in kind of short form detail here, as we always do. And we'll be live, I think it's myself and Derek, tomorrow morning on the morning briefing to talk through, Chris, what was not a classic, not a game I think you'd love watching back. With that said, Rangers also conceded absolutely nothing at the other end. Jack Butland made one good save, one routine save, but the good save kind of was from a bit of a shot from range, which did look like it was going to find the bottom corner. Aside from that, 2 goals scored by Sima, who's just been speaking to the press as well. Gets a couple of goals after what was a bit of a barren spell without goals. Todd Cantwell, the provider, and I guess that's the main storyline. But overall reaction, not a thriller. Games that you're going to have in the context of the season, and after a difficult week for Rangers, a better way to end it.
Like if Rangers go on and win the title this season and they bring out the 56 DVD, it's not one you're going to be flicking to go straight to. It was fairly straightforward, fairly mundane in spells, but overall it's the kind of afternoon that I think the manager actually wanted. It's been a difficult week, as you say. Obviously, dropping the points up at Pittodrie, not good on Thursday night. The reaction since then has spoken volumes about the mood of the fans. So it was a bit tough to watch at times, but two moments of quality from Sima. Thought he took both his goals really well. Cantwell playing more centrally had an impact. Again, his pass for the second goal, exactly what we want to see from him. So there was a lot to like. There wasn't anybody who stunk the place out. There wasn't anybody who shone really brightly. But enough in there from Cantwell, from Sima, McCausland really bright once again. I think there's a lot in there to take away from it as it ends what has been a difficult few days on a high note, and it's onwards and upwards hopefully.
Let's start with Cantwell, because you're right, it wasn't his best game, but he still created. He was good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as if it wasn't a game where you thought, okay, he showed exactly why he needs to play in that position. But in a sense, actually, it was exactly that, because Rangers don't have many players capable of deciding games like this when they're a bit slow and they need someone to kind of produce something out of an individual action that's not a set piece or a team-wide move or a really well-rehearsed passing routine. It does rely on individual quality. Clement said, speaking in his press conference after, Chris, that he did a debrief with Cantwell and they had come to an agreement about his performance. He kind of reiterated the point that he made after the game in midweek, that this has been a role for a time, circumstantial within the squad. And we I thought that it was blown out of proportion a little bit. Not necessarily the reaction to the substitution, because when a player is taken off that early and when a player of Cantwell's quality is taken off early, of course it's going to be a huge talking point. But if you listen to what Clement said after the game, he wasn't really berating the player. Again, it was just kind of a byproduct of the role he was playing in, and he'd done a job up until a point, but clearly that was kind of the end of the road there. I think everyone can see why he has to play in the middle. I'm going to write about it more in depth on the website tomorrow and kind of look at some of the numbers in there. But even when Rangers weren't at their best, even when he wasn't at his best, he just kind of makes things happen, doesn't he? He's good.
He's one of the few players on the squad that can play that, like the pass to the second goal, takes out a couple of defenders with it, perfectly weighted, Sima's through, scores, job done, game won. Very few players on the squad are capable of having the vision and actually then going to execute on that pass. I thought first half he didn't really get into it. I think he tried a lot of things didn't come off. Couldn't really cut something open because they were also really compact in their shape. They also came here to frustrate the team, try and get the crowd on their back. Not very often you see a player booked for time wasting with a shy half an hour in, so that kind of summed up St Mirren's approach to the first half. I think Cantwell was almost a victim of that. He found it difficult to really get into the game. Second half opened up a bit more, had a lot more influence, and a shot for the edge of the box that was blocked, and another one that he scooped away over.
The moment with Danilo as well, where they were both I think they were both expecting one another to shoot, and then the moment went. But it actually is interesting, Chris, because after his assist, he was starting to get the mood was starting to get frustrated, and had Rangers not scored before half-time, I'd have been interested to hear what the reaction would have been. And there was a couple of moments where Cantwell, the game wasn't really going in his direction, and he maybe felt like he was being kicked, or there was an unfair challenge on him, and he was complaining at the ref. And there's one moment in particular where he complained at the ref instead of maybe trying to win the ball back, and a couple of people behind us just went absolutely mental. And I think that spoke to a bit of a general mood at that time that was frustrated overall. And when Cantwell then creates that goal he actually didn't go and celebrate with his teammates. He just kind of let out a kind of celebration of relief, mostly probably, but also frustration at how that first half had went. But he just has that individual quality, and we've not actually, again, it's a wider topic, and me and Derek will talk about it probably in more depth tomorrow morning, but I think the moving him around in different positions extends back to before Clement came in. If you remember the Old Firm game here, he wasn't playing on the right of midfield, but he was playing in a deep role on the right where his influence was kind of waned. And I'm not always one that thinks, okay, his position needs to, I think he should in this system, I think he should be number 10, but previously there was a lot of fluidity in that team. I think the most important thing with Cantwell in this Rangers team at the moment, he's clearly probably, I think, your best player, your best technical player. Base stuff around him, make him the heart of the team, give him the autonomy to move, because not only have you not been getting the best out of him by playing him in that right midfield position, but the team's really missed him, and you need a player with a bit of personality to go and take these games on, even when he's not had a fantastic game. And he has those kind of two deciding moments today, which I guess not only show what they've been missing from him on an individual basis, but kind of what the team's been missing in there as well.
And by the time we get to Tynecastle on Wednesday night, if he's not playing number 10, then people, you can only imagine the reaction online. I think that it's safe to say now that that's clearly his best position in the side. But it's also aided by Matondo coming back to give us another wide option. Aided by McCausland really coming to fore over the last few weeks. Good to see Sima getting his goals as well. Again, really interesting to see how that develops in terms of if Sima ends up being shifted to the right to perhaps accommodate Matondo at times. So I thought the bench looked a bit stronger today. The manager made five changes. Bit of rotation. Not everyone that came in made the most of a chance, but Raskin and Jack aside, if we can get Scott Wright back again, that's another wide option. So the more options the manager has middle to front, the easier it is to then play Todd Cantwell in his best position, to then get the best out of him, to then get the best out the side. I feel you're now going to ask me about Nico Raskin being absent, because that's out of all the positives that we've just spoke about, that's the main negative to come from the manager's presser today.
Yeah, well, you've said it, so we'll get into it. If you've not seen the news line out of the press conference or watched it, the manager said, I'll get the exact quote up, but he said that Nico Raskin's rehab is not going well, which I don't think that's a slight of the player. I think that's more a suggestion that the injury is perhaps maybe more complex than they first feared. It was obviously over a month ago now that Raskin initially went down and was stretched off against Hearts. So asked when he'll be back, let me find it. Clement said Ryan Jack will not be so long. Nico will have a new assessment next week because his rehab is not going well. So I'm not happy about that, but it is what it is. We have to find solutions. And asked what his chances were of making the cup final against Aberdeen on December the 17th. Clement caveated it with the fact that he's not a doctor, but he said he would rate his chances as very small. Tom Lawrence came into a different role today, and I thought it was telling that the manager was very complimentary of him. He kept the pace of play going at points. Again, we'll maybe come on to what Rangers didn't do so well, because by no means was it a performance where you thought, wow, this is fantastic to watch at all times. But Nico Raskin, again, a player who's probably not since last season, this season, he's not really been able to kick on, but it's clear the quality he has in the centre of midfield. Below that, he's probably not going to. If his chances of being back for the cup final are very small, with chances of him playing any concerted football before the tail end of the year seem very small, and that's a real blow based on what we've seen over the last week, where I think Jose Cifuentes, he was benched today, and the manager kind of reiterated that was because of fitness and just coming back to fitness, and the fact that he's played 2 games in a short space of time, but he also really struggled in midweek. So Raskin being out for longer, big blow.
As it would be eased slightly if Ryan Jack was available, but obviously he's got his own injury issues to come through as well, and it does leave Rangers a bit short in the middle of the pitch, because Kieran Bell has disappeared off the face of the earth, it seems. I thought Lundstrom was decent again today, but you're asking a lot of someone to go and play almost every minute of these games. Rangers still got a lot of football to play between now and the end of the month. A lot of big games as well. Obviously, Europe Cup final, Old Firm game at the end of. There's a lot of big games coming up for Rangers. The manager needs as many options as possible. To not have Raskin's a blow. So if you could guarantee that Jack could get through all the games, guarantee that Lundstrom would get through all the games, guarantee that Tom Lawrence, who again has had his problems, if you can guarantee they could all get through every one of these matches, it would be okay. But each one has got their own individual programmes and got their own individual things to manage. You then add into that the fact that Cifuentes is not exactly is not exactly impressed. It's not looked like the signing that Rangers thought they were getting so far this season. So it does leave the manager struggling a wee bit in that area of the pitch. And as you mentioned, Raskin came in this time last year, had a really impressive second half of the season. We were all just waiting for him to really go and
kick on,
take it to the next level and become like a mainstay in the side. It's not to say he's been absolutely rotten, but he's just not. It's been like 6 out of 10 stuff from a guy that we thought was really going to go and improve and really kind of show himself as almost a bit of a bargain buy.
He's lacked that consistent. I think you can clearly see with Raskin, he has so much to his game, and especially he can because he's a ball carrier, he can run out of problems, he can pass his way out of problems. He's so good off the ball, but again, he's just not had that consistency. And I think that consistency of positioning being changed from the right of central midfield to the left to the base of midfield. I just looking back on the start of the season, I don't think it helped anyone, and we've not been able to see the Nico Raskin of last season. And I think the player that, listen, at 22, you can see how good he could be, and would hopefully and will hopefully benefit from playing with a bit more stability in the centre midfield. But you're right, that's a blow, because you're really you're a midfield to John Lundstram, and listen, injury to John Lundstram, that doesn't happen that much. Your options are limited in there, and I think Rangers leads us on maybe to talk about Rangers' limitations. Limitations and build-up at points are obvious enough when they're forced to go long, because they don't really have someone to take it through the midfield. And Barisic, if he's not going to pass back, then he's probably not going to play incisive passes inside the field, so he needs to go over the top, and that doesn't really lend itself to control. And there's still, I think, a lot to be solved from back to front in a game like today. I think without a player like McCausland, gave a lot, you're right, especially in the second half, got on the ball a bit more, was able to carry it forwards. Cantwell too. Sima, we can touch upon him, getting back to his goal-scoring habits that he'd kind of lost over the last number of weeks, just become a dad, so congratulations to him, and he was speaking about that in his press conference as well. Cyril Dessers did not look like scoring today. Danilo came off the bench and had a couple of moments. Rangers need more than one goal scorer in this team, and if they can get Sima back to the form that he was in when Clement arrived, and Clement spoke about it too, he effectively said, I don't think he's been greedy enough. We sat down and talked about it this week, and 2 really good goals, 2 different goals. The first one is a real, it's mine, I'm going to finish it moment, and the second one, again, you see the benefit of what you get from him at points starting from the left. At times, I think Barisic and Sima can make Rangers too one-dimensional to the right-hand side, because they have their limitations when you're trying to break a team down. But that powerful running and finishing quality that Sima gives you from left to right really came to the fore for that second goal.
It did. I thought overall it was much more like it from him. I think the last couple of weeks he's been a wee bit off. As you say, it was interesting, the manager saying he's almost like tried to give him a bit of belief and tried to give him a bit more confidence. I think, again, as he said, it's one of the questions, he's also got that confidence in himself, otherwise he doesn't take on the chances, he doesn't score goals, but you can always step it up a level. I think he's just looking for a bit more. It's almost a case of, does Sima really know how good he actually is, or how good he can be?
Yeah.
He comes in and I speak to him, he seems got a shy, down-to-earth, humble guy. You almost get the sense that the manager just want to give him a shake and try and get something else out of him. But on his day, we've seen over the course of the season, he can be a really, really effective forward for Rangers. And again, as you mentioned, Josh, they need more than one goal scorer in the side. So Danilo, we think, will get a number of goals. You know what you'll get from Tav in terms of number of goals. Apart from that, you're really looking at Sima.
Not many takers.
You're really looking at Sima to then going to lead the way. We're hopeful that McCausland can maybe chip in. We're hopeful that Cantwell can maybe start contributing in that sense. Apart from that, there's nobody you can really hang your hat on.
It's not a goal scoring midfield. There's not someone from there. I mean, Lawrence maybe if he plays consistently, but you're right. It's not as if you can look around the team and think he'll definitely get you 7 or 8 goals that will actually go a long way. He's someone who's a midfielder that, when you're having a bad day, he'll score him from the edge of the box to open the game up. So it was a game that, to me, Chris, showed good signs with Cantwell and Sima. I thought McCausland was really good. Shouldn't pass over that, but just committing a player and being aggressive really makes a difference. But it was also a game that I think showed the limitations that Rangers still have and the work that's still to do, especially at periods in that first half. You're off on holiday this week. Hearts away, and then it's Dundee at home. The Rangers have. What do you foresee over the next few days? Tynecastle away is someone that Rangers have actually had quite a good record in the last couple of seasons. We'll not mention the season before that. The only option at the moment is to keep winning and hopefully a little bit more of the excitement that was there before the international break, which is, I guess, always naturally going to drop off because that was new and now the new manager is not new. important to just keep winning and keep the consistency of Cantwell at number 10. Probably keep McCausland in there for me. Don't make too many changes to the team apart from Sima Danilo coming back into the top end, and hopefully a little bit more improvement to go with results over the course of the next week for Rangers.
If you can make sure there's still a title race on by the time I come back my holidays and head off to Seville, that would be smashing. Rangers also need 6 points from next week. It's not been a good week this time around. Finished it on a relatively positive one, finished it on a win, which is good. I say going forward, just a case of win every game. It's easier said than done. We all know that, but I'll reference my Pataudry piece from that week there about Tynecastle being a tricky place to go. It's not really. Rangers on the better side than Hearts. Rangers are going for a title. If you want to win titles, Tynecastle is the type of venue you have to go and pick up 3 points. Dundee next weekend here, a very similar game. I think this game, like, you know how they're going to come set up. You know the role that Ibrox crowd's going to have to play in some regards in that as well, and that then leads us into also Betis and the cup final after that. So a really important 2 weeks coming up for Rangers. Come January and after the Killie game, we can all sit and take stock and wonder where we are and what needs done. But I think the manager will just be pleased at what's been achieved today, not in getting overexcited about it, not going way over the top with it. But I feel like fairly straightforward one, and he would certainly take 2 more of them over the course of the next week.
I'm distracted because in the background of the Rangers media room we can see that Tottenham have just scored another goal. So I'm thinking, Chris, that match of the day is going to be superb tonight. But that'll do us. I think people have heard enough from us now. I'll be back with Derek in the morning. You can read more from us. We're going to be writing about Todd Cantwell on the website tomorrow, kind of exploring a bit more about the topic of his best position, what exactly he showed, maybe some of the numbers around his performance. Chris is off on a well-earned break. He'll be back soon. Until then, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll speak to you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.